In this first example, it says, which of the following XY ordered pairs is a solution to this system of equations? In this particular case, they are telling me the answers. They are giving me the X's and the Y's to plug in for X and Y and see if I get a true statement. So working backwards would be our best bet on this one. Let's start with the first one and see if it works. So -4 for X plus 2 times 3 for Y equals, hopefully, a 2. -4 plus 6 is 2. Okay, let's check the next one because it's got to work in both in order to be a solution. Negative of X. Well, X is already a negative, so it's going to be the negative of a -4 plus Y, which is 3, is equal, we hope, 7. Well, negative of a negative turns into a positive. Remember, those two wrongs make a right, but only in math class is that true. 4 plus 3 is 7, and so it checks. The first one was my answer. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. In this one, they give us the system of equations, the two different equations, and ask for the value of Y. So let's come over here and write the two equations so that we can have them on top of each other, where the X's line up, the Y's line up, our equals line up, and our numbers line up. All right, this one is ready to go because you have a plus Y and a negative Y, which you're going to eliminate. Here you have 1x plus 1x, so 2x is equal to 48 divided by 2, and x is 24. Notice they give 24 as one of your answer choices, but that's the value of x. They asked us for y, so be careful how they do that. Take the x value that you just got, which is 24, and go plug that in to either one of your original equations. I'm going to go to the first one, and it will say 24 plus y is equal to 30. Subtract your 24 over 30, take away 24 is 6. So the y value is 6. All right, number 46. And this one, they give us a system of equations 1 and 2, but this time they're asking for the value of x plus y. So we'll want to solve for x and y and then add them together. So I'm going to come over here and rewrite my system of equations. 3x plus 5y is equal to 17. 2x plus 3y is equal to 11. And I need for one of the variables to eliminate. I'm going to go for the x's just because they're out front. And if I want those to eliminate, I'm going to do kind of a flip-flop method. If there's a 3 in the top, I'm going to take and multiply that to the bottom equation. If there's a 2 in the bottom equation, I'm going to multiply that to the top equation. Therefore, I know I've taken 2 times 3 and 3 times 2, which would be the same value. So they will eliminate as long as one of them is a negative. So put a negative on one of them. Distribute that -2 all the way through, and I'll have negative 6x minus 10y is equal to negative 34. You're going to do the same thing with this 3. Be sure to get it to everybody. 3 times 2 is 6x. 3 times 3 is 9y. And 3 times 11 is 33. Add your two equations at face value. The -6 and the +6 cancel. Negative 10 plus 9 is negative y. Negative 34 and positive 33 is negative 1. Divide by your negative, and y is positive 1. Now that you have the first answer, take that answer and go substitute it back into one of the original equations where there's a y. It's completely your choice. You'll get the same answer no matter which. I'll just go to that first one. 3x plus 5, but where the y is, I'm going to put a 1, is equal to 17. So 3x plus 5 is equal to 17. Subtract your 5 over. So 17 minus 5 is 12, and x is equal to 4. Notice that they have 4 as one of the answers, but the question says, what is x plus y? So take your x you found and your y that you found and get J, or 5, for your answer. Okay, let's take a look at this next one. On this one right here, they give you a fraction and tell you it's equal to another fraction. It says that's a true statement. So if that's the case, what is x divided by y? Well, that in itself tells me that I need to solve it for x and y in order to find out what x over y is. If this is a true statement, the top part of that fraction equals the top part of that fraction. And the bottom part of the fraction equals the bottom part of the other fraction. So there is my system of equations. So I'm going to say 3x minus y is equal to 4. That's the top part equaling the top part. And x plus y equals 7. That's the bottom part equaling the bottom part. In this case, the y's are ready to eliminate. You have a negative and a positive. So then at face value, 3 plus understood 1, 4x is equal to 11. Divide by 4, and x is 11/4. Again, be careful because you see they have that as an answer choice trying to throw you off. But we've got to find x divided by y. So therefore, let's find y. So you're going to take the x that you just found and substitute it into one of those two original equations. I'm going to go to the bottom just because it looks easier. X, which I found out, is 11/4 plus y is equal to 7. I'm going to subtract the 11/4 over. So you might want to use your calculator just to be fast. 7, subtract 11/4, and you get 17/4. Or you get the decimal of 4.25. Now I'm going to go back and do what the question says. The question says to take your x value and divide it by your y value. So my x value, which is 11/4, divided by my y value, which is 17/4. If you do it this way with the fractions, be sure to put those in parentheses so your order of operations is correct. Or if I don't want to do it that way, I can say 11/4 divided by the 4.25. Just again, use those parentheses around the fraction. When you do that, you will get your answer of 11/17. All right, the next one. For what value of a would the following system of equations have an infinite number of solutions? To have an infinite number of solutions means you're going to get a true statement at the end of the problem. It means all the variables go away and you're just left with, again, a true statement. To have a false statement would be no solution. So solve the equation just like normal. Let's do what we would think to normally do. I'm going to eliminate my x's. So if this is a positive 6, I need for this to be a negative 6. So I'm going to multiply by negative 3 because negative 3 times 2 is negative 6 to knock out that positive 6. Distribute your negative 3 through. Negative 3 times 2, negative 6x. Negative times negative is a positive 3y, and negative 3 times 8 is negative 24. The bottom equation you're just going to bring down just like it is. The x's eliminate like we wanted them to. The y's eliminate, which what is indicative of an infinite solution. Remember, all the variables go away. You'd be left with a true statement. So for this statement to be true, it would need to say 0 is equal to 0. So the question becomes, what does A need to be in order for this to happen? Well, if this is a negative 24, this needs to be a positive 24 so that they can knock out to be 0. So that tells me that 4 times A needs to equal 24. I think you can probably see that really quickly, that that would need to be 6, right? 4 times 6 is 24, and that's what would knock it out. All right, we're going to move into the next section, which is the word problems, which ACT does a lot of. So they'll give you an equation that you'll read. You'll have to, first of all, decide it's a system of equations, then write the equations, and then solve the equations. But here's an in-between type of problem, where in this one, they simply give us the information and ask us to pick which equations would work. We don't have to solve. We just have to be able to see what the equations would have been. So it says that Ursula will order boxes of red and blue pens for her company. This table gives us the number of pens in each of the red and blue boxes and the price for a red and a blue box. Then it tells us that Ursula will order 50 boxes of pens, total of 50 boxes. That's what one of my equations totals to, and a total price amount of $280. That's what the other equation equals. If you notice in all of these, that's what they're doing. So which relationship? R for red and B for blue. Let's start with the money equation, the money stuff, the $280. Well, this is for red and this is for blue. So let's come down here, and at our 280 equation, we need 5R and 6 for B. Well, we have that, so this could maybe be my answer. On this 280, they don't have that. On this 280, they don't have the 5 and the 6. On this 280, they don't have the 5 and the 6. On this 280, they do have $5 for red plus $6 for blue is 280. So I know that so far my answer is either F or K. Now let's go back and decide about the 50. We need 50 total boxes. So basically what we're saying is we need the red boxes plus the blue boxes to total to 50 boxes. F is your answer. They're trying to throw you off here because they gave you those values in the table. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to use them, only if we need to use them. This is the number of pens in each box. So had the equation said, I'm going to order 50 pens, then I would have used that. But it was a total of 50 boxes, so objects. All right, this next one. Admission to a carnival is $4 for children and $6 for adults. A group of 21 people pay $90 for admission to the carnival. What is the ratio of the number of children to the number of adults? Once again, when you get one of these problems and you read it, the thing that helps you to know is that there's going to be two variables. Like in the other one, it was red and blue. Here, it's children and adults. I'm going to use C for children and A for adults. It says, let's do the money equation first, total of $90. $4 for each child plus $6 for each adult is equal to $90. So that's the money. The other equation says it's going to equal to 21 people. So that tells me the number of children plus the number of adults is 21. Now let's just simply eliminate. I'm going to eliminate the C's. If this is a positive 4, I need to multiply by a negative 4 and make sure I distribute it to everyone. So let's copy this one over. 4C plus 6A is equal to 90. Negative 4 times C is negative 4C. Negative 4 times A is negative 4A. Negative 4 times 21 is negative 84. Okay, the children or the C variables eliminate. 6 take away 4 is 2A equals 90 minus 84 is 6. So the number of adults that went is going to be 3 adults. Now let's find the number of children. So we're going to take the answer that you just got, A is 3, and let him go live in one of his houses, that one or that one. I'm going to go to the bottom house, and it says the number of children plus the number of adults is 21, subtract, and there must have been 18 children that went. Now, this one asks the answer in just a little bit different way because it says, what is the ratio of children to adults? So children, 18, to adults, which is 3. Notice they don't have 18 to 3, but if I reduce that, I get a 6-to-1 ratio, and my answer is C. Okay, just a couple more of these word problems to look at. Number 18, the cost of 2 notebooks and a package of pencils is $7. The cost of 3 notebooks and 2 packages of pencils is $11. What is the cost for 1 notebook and 1 package of pencils? Remember I said on these right here, you'll read it and you'll recognize there's like 2 variables. I'm going to let N be for notebooks and P be for pencils. Then I can see I'll have 2 equations. One totals to 7, the other totals to 11. So 2 notebooks and 1 package of pencils is $7. That's my first equation. 3 notebooks and 2 pencil packages is equal to $11. All right, let's eliminate one of the variables. I think those P's would be the easiest to go for. So if this is a positive 2, I'm going to multiply by a negative 2. So that when I multiply negative 2 times P is negative 2P. All right, let's solve it. Negative 4N minus 2P is equal to negative 14. This one I'm just going to copy over just like it is. Again, those P variables eliminate. Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1N. Negative 14 plus 11 is negative 3. Divide, and the notebooks cost $3. All right, now let's find out about the pencils. Once you have that first answer, let him go live in his house. He can live in that house or that house. It's your choice. I'm going to go to the top one because I think it looks a little easier. So 2 times N that I just found plus P is equal to 7. So 6 plus P is equal to 7. Subtract over the 6, and the pencil is $1. So then the question says, what is the cost of 1 notebook and 1 package of pencils? So $3 for a notebook, $1 for a package of pencils, and my final answer is going to be H, or $4. All right, last one, and if you want to, you could pause the video, try to set it up yourself and solve, and then check with me. It says, a fabric store sells flannel and calico fabrics. Joan pays $25 for 3 yards of flannel and 4 yards of calico. So that looks like one equation. And then it's going to say that Chris pays $11 for 1 yard of flannel and 2 yards of calico. So what is the price for a yard of calico? All right, let's set up our equations. So we know that we've got 3 yards of flannel, so 3F plus 2. So I've got 3 yards of flannel and 4 yards of calico. So I'm going to use F for flannel, and 4 for calico, C for calico, is $25. And then the next equation says Chris. He pays 11, or she pays, Chris could be either way. Chris pays $11 for 1 yard of flannel and 2 yards of calico. And then I'm going to eliminate. I think those F's are the best ones to go for. So I'll multiply that by -3 and distribute through. And so when I do, I'll keep this equation the way that it is. 3f plus 4c is 25, and then negative 3f minus 6c is equal to negative 33. Those cancel. And then 4 minus 6 is negative 2c, and 25 minus negative 33 is negative 8. So c is equal to 4. Notice that's what the question asked for. What's the price for calico? So I don't have to go any further, and I see that my answer is G, or $4. If you'd like more help and practice with ACT Math Prep, be sure to check out the other videos on my channel. And again, if this video was helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button, and even share or tell a friend about it. See you later.